Well, hello, good evening. Mark Traversoni here at Saturn Magic, and we're live on a Sunday. Uh, Unfortunately, no live last week. I've lost a week of my life, but I'm back. So here we are. Let's crack on with tonight's live. So what are we going to cover this evening? There's quite a lot to actually get through. And tonight we're going to be talking about Silhouette from Tobias Dostal. We're going to be talking about Lit from Dan House. We're also going to be talking about Avalanche from Paul Harris Presents. Also a segment on Translation by Sans Minds, and also Profiteer by Adrian Vega, I think it is. So we've got quite a lot to actually get through there. So let's start off with Avalanche from Paul Harris Presents. Now this is one that I'm surprised that there hasn't been more talk of actually, and well actually the only talk that I have seen has been incredibly negative from people that haven't actually got it, just people that have watched the trailer. And I must admit, when I've watched the trailer, and if you basically it's I can't really describe in one sentence what this trick actually is. The one comment that I saw about this just like made me go, oh no, what on earth's going on in this world? Someone said, why on earth does the card have Force written on it? And I'm thinking, it's the trailer for the product, and they're just pointing out that that's actually a Force card. And someone thought that for some reason in the routine that is what happens, you know, that the card has to have Force on it. Now, I know we seem to be in a world nowadays where people they'll watch a video for like 30 seconds or a minute, not very well, they won't bother reading any of the ad copy underneath, then a million questions either get emailed to us or on the Magic Cafe and things like that, and most of the questions are actually in the video if they could be cared to watch it properly, or even in the ad copy if they were watching it properly. So it gets very frustrating from a dealer's point of view when you're getting questions and things coming at you from that point of view. Anyway, cut to the chase. What is Avalanche? Well, Avalanche, what you get in the box is this. Now, considering lots of tricks that you buy nowadays are not ready-made, they're not ready to go out the box, there's lots of arts and crafts and stuff like that. This comes like this, completely out of the box, ready to go with a deck of cards inside the box. The deck of cards they give you inside the box is a blank deck of cards. I'll get on to my preferred way of using this, which is with a normal deck. But the reason why they give you a normal deck is some of the key routines that they show you in the trailer actually use a blank deck, and not everyone has got a blank deck, so therefore they're going to assume that everyone has got a deck of cards around, so you've ordered it in either red or blue, whichever deck you normally use. So you get a blank deck in blue or red, and you can do, as long as you've got a normal deck, you can then do pretty much any routine that they teach you. So what is it? A lot of people are just seeing this for, like the person that said Force, a lot of people are just seeing this as a Force. Well, to be honest, if you need this to force a playing card, then it's probably time to give up Magic. If you're very new to Magic, then yeah, it can pretty much force a playing card in fairly easily, but I must admit there are much easier and much more self-working ways to force a playing card. And again, people are picking up on, oh, is that it? It just forces a playing card in the way it does. And for those of you that don't know it, you've basically got the deck of cards. So let's get the deck of cards out of here. Someone picks a card. So they choose any card from the deck. I'm lifting up so you can all see here, but the card is put down on top of the card box and the deck put to one side, and the card is then displayed to the audience as if to say, well, I'm not looking at it, just remember that card that you can see there, and the magician puts the box down on the table quite fairly and openly, and the routine continues. Because I've got the blank version that I'm doing here just at the moment, you can go through whatever presentation you want. You ask the spectator what card they saw. You can say no, it was all implanted into your memory. You can have another card to one side to say that you'd made a prediction that they would choose that card, but that was all implanted psychologically into their memory because the card that you picked is in fact completely blank. They can have a look at the box. There's no, I'll try and get you as close up as you can see. There's no card in the box. There's no cards stuck to the box. The box is like covered in cellophane to protect it, which is a good thing because it will make it a lot more durable. And you can then show as well that the deck that they, without any switches, because the deck has been there the whole time, that the deck that they chose the card from as well was completely blank, so the whole thing was in their imagination. So that is a pretty good effect in itself. What I particularly like this for is actually, and those of you that know me and Kieran and whatever know that we love the card to impossible location plot, and this is an absolute gem for doing card to impossible location. If you want to make a card disappear, and what we normally do, like a rip corner or a sign card or something like that, as a convincer for a spectator that, you know, it's definitely their card that's, you know, gone, and it's definitely their card that's in the impossible location. Well, with Avalanche, this is one of the few times, and we'll come on to another trick later on in the review as well, another time when I think that a non-signed card works particularly well. Because what we're going to do here, we're going to show the card, so they look at the card and they remember the card, you're not looking, that they've picked from a normal deck. The card can either remain where it was on top of the card box, or you can put it back on top of the deck. Now my preference is to put it back on top of the deck and then even have them cut it into the deck and have them shuffle the deck. You can then say to them, if I could just snap my fingers and your card has completely disappeared from the deck. And they'd like look at you a bit strange, and when they look through the deck, the card has completely vanished. It's not there, it's not stuck, it's not hidden. The card that they saw you put back on top of the deck and put into the deck that you've just shown them has completely gone. And you can then reveal it is wherever you want it to be, which is absolutely amazing. The card that I'm holding on to now, you could just snap and say, no, what card was it? And if they said the 9 of spades, you'd say, no, this is the 4 of diamonds. So if you want that effect where the card changes from the top of the card box, maybe you know, someone else picked the 4 of diamonds and the 9 of spades ends up somewhere else. You know, so what I'm saying is there's lots more options, and they do mention the impossible location thing in the trailer, but again, I think people are too hung up on the force. So you can see I'm liking this. I thoroughly recommend it. It's very well made. It's very durable. If you want to change the force, if we call it that, the card that is forced, you get a couple with it. You get you get 2 gimmicks. One with a face that you can see, and one with a back that you can see when you sort of display the card to people. The one where you show the back is in the trailer where they draw some squiggles on the back and it makes no sense, and then it changes into a drawing or a word or something like that. Again, brilliant, brilliant idea. If you want to make more of any of the cards that do that, it will take you not very long, a few minutes. If you're extremely bad at arts and crafts, it might take you 5 minutes to make one. It's very, 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 very simple indeed. And you can make up a bunch of them in different reveals, and they're very quick to change out as well. If you wanted to take one out and change it for another one, it'd be quite easy to have some in your top pocket and literally just pull out the card and slip a new one in, and you could easily do that just walking around, no problem at all. So you can tell by what I've said, I'm really, really liking this. I'm surprised there's not more people talking about it. Just about the only person on the Magic Cafe that seems to have received this and got it has already said, I think it's a guy called Ian on the Magic Cafe, has already said he's received it, he likes it, he's already made it himself in a Phoenix card box. So it's not impossible to make the gimmick yourself. If you want to, in any other card box you want. The actual gimmick itself is very durable. It's covered in cellophane to help protect it. If the cellophane starts to rip, you can just put some clear tape over it, or use some cellophane from another box to repair your gimmick. You know, if the cellophane starts to, but the cellophane's there just to give it some more durability, because it is, you know, just a box at the end of the day. But if you're good at arts and crafts, you will be able to make your own. And if you're not good at arts and crafts, well, it's going to last you quite a long time anyway. Comes ready made with a blank deck. Can't really say much more than that about this. It comes with the force card effect, which so-so. The squiggly one where they do the writing. They do a card to pocket, which is like the impossible location kind of thing. So you can do a card to spectator's pocket, which is incredible because you know, the card disappears or changes, and they then go to their pocket and there's the card. There's a card sandwich effect, and there's also there's 2-card transpo, and there's also an invisible palm routine. So actually that's quite a lot, isn't it? That's 6 different things that they teach you on there, along with hopefully sparking your imagination to do a lot more with it. So thoroughly recommend it. Absolutely brilliant gimmick, well made, from Paul Harris Presents. That's Avalanche. Whew. So there's me rabbiting on about the first effect for this evening. And good evening. I see we've got quite a few of you joining me here. I'll have a quick look down the comments. And right, there we go. Okie dokie. I see Jeff is also saying there, Avalanche, so much you can do, it's brilliant. Glad you agree with that actually, because as I come on to further reviews in this thing, in this show this evening, it's going to be interesting to see whether you guys sort of agree with what I say, but we'll get onto that a little bit later on. Right, so the next effect that we're going to talk about this evening is Lit from Dan House. Now, why am I talking about Lit? Well, unfortunately, I've missed the last week of my life. I've only just caught up on BGT in the last 2/3 days. Literally saw none of it, and so I've done a bit of catching up. And I was watching, obviously, the Magicians on the BGT, and they all did a fantastic job. One of the ones I was particularly impressed with was Ben Hart, and I loved his performance of Lit by Dan House, which made me think I ought to bring it up, that we stock it. We have it in stock here. Lit is a fantastic trick. Where I was just talking about the strength of the non-signed card, and actually I'll explain what I mean about the strength of the non-signed card. Normally a signed card, I always insist on doing a signed card because, you know, you prove it's their card, you haven't switched it for another one. But the strength of the Avalanche thing is that when you show them that particular, they've just seen the card, it's there, and it was put on top of the deck, and they shuffled it, and it was in the deck, and it's completely gone. Well, there's just no doubt that the card was there, so therefore the strength of the vanish is so strong, and then when it comes back wherever, you've got a fantastic effect. Now this is very, very similar in that there is a signed version for the matchbook, but I must admit I'm not a great fan of that version. It doesn't need it. So basically you get someone to pick a card, and they pick the card, and you do the old matchbook trick where you take a match out of the book, strike it, blow the match out. You can either put it into your mouth or do a vanish with the match. But anyway, the match has to disappear somehow. So there's various ways that Dan tells you how to do that, from very easy to easy. And when you open up the matchbook, the match is now back in there with its head burnt, because you've like blown back towards the matchbook, and the match is back in there. The burnt match in a matchbook is an age-old trick, but what he then does is goes on to do a card trick, and the kicker is that the matchbook that they were holding on to, well, you put in a pocket during that card routine, which they assume was the same matchbook at the beginning, or is, let's say in magical sense, when they open it up, their card has disappeared and is now actually the matchbook. So again, not necessarily having to be a signed version. There is a signed version if you want to. It's a little bit more involved and in the way that you have to do it, but a very, very strong way of doing it. And also, if you don't want, because the deck that you get is a full deck of the Lit matchbooks as such, if you're not doing the signed version, you don't have to give the card away. So if you're one of those people that doesn't really like buying lots of refills, you can just take that back once you've done the effect, fold it back up, put it in your pocket and do it again. So you can be carrying like 3 or 4 of them around in your pocket to be switching them around, so it's not always the same value. And you don't actually have to give the matchbook away at the end. So one deck will last you quite a long time. So if you've not checked out Lit, you ought to. You will need to be buying yourself some matchbooks, and they're available on Amazon. You can buy about 50 or 100 quite cheap, just plain white matchbooks with the matches in. Anyone that's got Lit or is considering getting Lit, I'll give a little tip for doing it. Dan says on the video that it's always best when you rip the match out of the book if the matchbook is full. But as he's demoing it or teaching it on the routine, obviously his matchbook is now getting emptier and emptier because of all the different ways he's shown you have done it. And he even says himself, oh, this matchbook's now getting a bit empty, but yours will be a full one. So if you think about it, you're thinking, well, hang on, once you've ripped a match out of the matchbook, when you've done it once, if you want to do it all night, then by the time you've done it 3 or 4 times, your matchbook is now getting quite empty. So in theory, you'd have to be discarding that matchbook and then using a brand new one to be carrying on. Well, just a little tip for you guys that either do Lit or are considering getting Lit after what I'm saying. My little tip is do what he says to do with the matchbook, so you're ready to do the trick, but then have an extra matchbook, which you've got to one side in your pocket or whatever, remove one match from it and wedge that into the matchbook. Okay, so when you're showing the spectator the matchbook and all the matches are in there, everything looks fine, but you've actually got one extra match in there. That extra match is just like wedged in between, because there's like 2 rows, is actually like wedged in between the 2 rows where you can access it quite easily. So when you actually turn the matchbook to peel the match out, all you're actually doing is removing the loose match that's in there. So therefore your matchbook is always full. So when you perform for that group, that match is no longer in play. You can just reach into your pocket, rip another match off, stick it back in your matchbook, and that matchbook is still full, and you can keep performing with that matchbook for as long as you want. And just a little tip there, so you get the most from your refills as well. So again, if we're talking about refills and stretching the trick as much as possible so that it's not costing you the earth to do the trick, it's a way that you can do it over and over again, and you're not eating away your matchbooks at a lightning pace by doing the trick. So you can tell I love Lit by Dan House. If you're not completely aware what the thing is, have a look on the website and you'll see it is an awesome trick and thoroughly recommend it. Okie dokie. Right. Okay, Alan's saying, have I spoken about the watch yet? Yeah, I did that a few weeks ago actually. I even did a complete show actually, Alan, on the watch. It lasted about 45 minutes, believe it or not. It was quite a marathon session. And it's excellent. I can't say any more than that about it actually. Absolutely brilliant. We've got various bonus videos on the website which go into all sorts of extra detail which people have found extremely helpful there. Okay. Right, what else have I got on my desk here? So we've got that. Okay, we'll talk about, I had a request actually come in this afternoon, which I was going to talk about this trick anyway. That's translation from Sans Minds. Now this is one of those things, and we have started to get a little bit controversial here at Saturn Magic, and not always just talking about things that we necessarily like. This is one of those things. I looked at the effect and typical Sans Minds. I thought, wow, that looks quite good. So I looked into it a little bit more, and I was absolutely gobsmacked at one, what the effect is, and or the method is, and two, what you actually get for your money. So bear in mind it's £31, and when you open up the box, the gimmick that you get is basically a black credit card type piece of plastic. And I thought, what on earth are they using that for? Because there's not a black piece of plastic or anything anywhere in sight on the trailer, you know, nowhere. So I thought, what on earth are they using this piece of plastic for? So of course, watch the instructions, and the black piece, the gimmick, you know, like when you buy a trick, it says gimmick and online instructions. So that means you're getting a gimmick. Which could be anything, could be a bit of scotch tape, sellotape, a little bit of sticky putty, or a little magnet. Anything can be described as a gimmick. if it's been supplied to you basically with a magic trick. So you do have to be a little bit careful. If there's, say, a card trick and you think there's a gimmick, don't expect to receive necessarily a card gimmick that's going to do that trick for you. What it means is it could be a bit of elastic, it could be a bit of double-sided tape, it could be almost anything. Some things that you see that are supplied as gimmicks, you think, well, why on earth did they give me that? Because I've got tons of that lying around. But they give it you because maybe some people haven't got any, whatever it may be. So anyway, you get this bit of black plastic. What's the bit of black plastic for? The bit of black plastic is absolutely nothing to do with the trick. Basically, the bit of black plastic is there to carry around the card gimmick things that you have to prepare at home before you go and do the trick. And basically you adhere them to the piece of plastic so they're not floating around in your pocket. So they could argue it's their storage device for the gimmicks so that you can then go out and do the trick. Okay, so it's the storage device. Now what's the best way to describe this then? The storage device that they've given you is roughly the size of a credit card, if not exactly the same size as a credit card. So therefore, if you've got any old piece of plastic lying around your house about the size of a credit card, or even an old credit card, which I'm sure plenty of us have, that would do the job. So to say that they're supplying you a gimmick to do the trick is a little bit far-fetched. The colour of the thing, being a nice black shiny plastic, has got nothing to do with it. The thing could be bright pink because the audience will never see it anyway. So the trick, I'm not going to waste much more time on it. You can tell I'm not really liking it. The actual method for the trick is just made me laugh when I saw the method. It's just so does it work? Well, I sort of suppose it does. Would the spectator see the gimmick? The spectator would, unless they've got very poor eyesight, I think the spectator will see the gimmick. Or unless you're running around them, and if you've got a very nervous twitch and your hands are moving around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, there's a chance that the spectators might not see it. If you've got a nervous twitch, actually, it might help you do the trick. Basically, this is Sans Minds at their almost best, in my view. So basically, just give it a miss. It's a complete load of rubbish. £31, really? Anyway, that's translation from Sans Minds. It's very rare you get a magic shop telling you nowadays don't buy something. We like to think we book the train. That's why one of our hashtags is pleased to be different, because we do like to give honest advice, and we'd rather you buy something that you're going to use than something that you're not going to use. Another trick in a similar vein was the Profiteer from Adrian Vega. And again, if you watch that, it's a mystery box with no box. So the triangular sort of Mercury card folded card is there on top of the dollar bills that he's got, and he reaches down, picks up, undoes it as you normally do, puts the glass back down on top of the dollar bills, and sure enough, their card is the one that was there on top of the dollar bills. So he's done a mystery box without the box, but what he's done, he's using the bills, let's say, in the guise of the routine, that it's a bet that, if he gets it wrong, then you get the money. And one thing that annoyed me with this one in particular, actually, is if you watch the trailer or even the animated Giphy things that are there on some of the websites that you can see on Murphy's Magic there, when the glass is lifted, everything's purely in focus. I mean, crisp. You can see all the writing on the bill and everything. And the minute the glass is lifted up, it goes blurred. And I thought, here we go again, like someone's taken the conscious decision to blur that image just so that the gaff or gimmick isn't exposed in any way during that really close-up shot. Now in reality, in the real world, would somebody get away with this? Yes, they would. The angles are sort of 180-ish. You don't want anyone, so if you were doing a stand-up performance or a club close-up type competition, or a performance where people are all in front of you, then yes, you could do this. You haven't got to use dollar bills, so you could use English money. English money isn't as forgiving as paper money, as we all know. You could possibly convert it to a playing card, but then you wouldn't have the quite bet thing there. So you could have it on top of something else that you could convert in a similar way. So it's not ideal for the English market, but and it's only a 180-degree angle, so you know, not amazing if you've got people that are going to start coming in or crowding around you for any particular reason. And because of the nature of the way that it is, you're sort of restricted to, you know, he's got the glass, so what are you going to do? You've got to be carrying a glass round with you, or because he sort of isolates it in the glass when he starts the routine. So it sort of strikes me more of a stand-up-y stroke parlour type situation that you would use this for, in which case, yes, it would be perfectly okay. What does get me though is that the trick is being sold into the market sort of under the guise of that it's suitable for just about everybody, and that's what gets me a little bit really with some of the Magic marketing. But that's why, and I must admit, although I hate the Magic Cafe at times, that's where sometimes it does come into its own, because when producers start to sort of stretch the boundaries a little bit on things, you eventually on the Magic Cafe the sort of truth does come out about tricks that do sort of bend the rules a little bit, and you know, people then do get to see you know, the trick for its true colours, let's say. So not that it's a bad trick, but not absolutely amazing, let's say, the Profiteer from Adrian Vega. Right, just having a look like down the list here. Okay, so the one that a lot of you have been waiting for this evening, the last thing that I'm going to mention for tonight, is Silhouette from Tobias Dostal. So this has been launched, pre-launched actually, because normally things get launched on a Monday or a Friday, and this was launched last Friday, but was pre-launched a few days before. So this is receiving the maximum effort in the hype machine, if you want to call it that. If the magic industry can be described as a hype machine, this trick is getting 1,000,000% of that hype machine right behind it. So what can I say about Silhouette? Right, so let's get to the initial hype and releases of things. So we've got all sorts of names coming on the internet saying this is absolutely amazing, it's awesome, it's the best thing they've ever seen, they'd love to do it, you know, all of those things that you've seen about Silhouette. All of these famous people are saying it. Now I must admit, I'm as skeptical as anybody when it comes to if we call them celebrity endorsements, and I know that sometimes they're not worth the paper they're written on. In this case, and I can say it hand on heart, because I was in Blackpool this year, and Tobias, it was outside the Ruskin, just over the road from there, big wall, Tobias showed me Silhouette, and I must admit it absolutely blew me away when I saw it. I thought, wow, that's incredible. So all of these people are giving their reaction to having seen the trick just like I saw it. So that's a big thumbs up that all of the reactions, I believe, are honestly correct. All of their reaction to the actual effect itself are true as well, and so everything's looking good. What you actually get in the box is, so the trick's £71. What you actually get in the box, you get 12 gimmicks and some spare parts that you can use with the gimmicks as well. So £71, you get 12 gimmicks. I think they've gone a little bit overboard actually. There was really no need to supply all 12, but for £71 you can't complain when you look at what's in there that you haven't got your money's worth from what's in the box. So this is looking like Silhouette is sort of ticking all the boxes so far, because it's a great effect. Yeah, if you've seen it, you'll know it looks absolutely amazing. If you've seen the trailer, you'll know it looks absolutely amazing. If you've seen what the celebrities have all said about it, they've said it's absolutely amazing, and it is. And what you get in the box is really good value for money. So you're thinking, well, hang on, why aren't we selling it? Here it comes. Now I've got to be really careful the way that I actually word this. And I've said this several times at Saturn Magic, that I sort of have a feeling for what our customer base generally likes. Now, I obviously can't speak for every customer that we deal with. And I must admit, I do remember one magic dealer some time ago saying on a forum somewhere that it wasn't his place to tell his customers what to buy, which is why he sold everything. And I thought, well, that's actually true, because just because I don't particularly like it doesn't mean I shouldn't stop other people buying it. But there's a number of reasons why I've sort of stuck by my principles on this particular one. And I'll tell you what they are. First of all, the trick is £71. Now, I've just said that you get a lot in the box for £71, which is, true. The effect is really good, and if you see what you see in the trailer, that is what is possible. I did see somewhere that someone put an image up that with an easy beginner reference on it. This isn't a beginner trick. It's unfortunately, this machine, the Magic World Hype Machine, is selling this off to everyone as you can do this. It's like easy and everything. And my hand on heart, honest opinion is, yes, the trick is absolutely amazing. It's stunning. But I don't think, I think that 95% of our customers that buy this will never do it. Yeah. And if the trick had been sort of £30 to £40, I'd have probably been in there along with all the other magic shops saying, yeah, you ought to buy this, it's really good. And maybe if they'd have included 4 to 6 gimmicks, which probably would have been enough, to be honest, in that price range, you couldn't have complained about the value for money. And they could have released another pack in so many months' time for those people that wanted to buy it, to expand the shadows that you've actually got available. But I think what's happened here is that they're releasing like the whole package in one go at quite a high price, so you'll get all the sales early on. And I suspect it's going to be one of those things that once the news actually gets out about it and what it actually is and how much practice you need to put in to do this. Now, the practice involved, it's not necessarily so much about the practice of getting the actual actually making it. If I'm stood in a room here now, I could get a shadow up on the wall within less than a minute. But what you're looking at here, and I liken this to the if you've seen the French twins on AGT, it was America's Got Talent, I think they were on, I can't remember whether it's BGT or AGT. They do this act where they're interacting with the video screen, and there's a girl comes out, and all umbrellas and all sorts of things coming out of the screen. And this is a similar kind of thing. It's a theatrical kind of pantomime kind of thing, that you're interacting with the shadow, and you can and some of the things, you can take a playing card out, you can take some sunglasses out, or you can interact with the shadow. And that kind of thing doesn't come in like 1 minute. It wouldn't even come within 1 day, I wouldn't imagine. You're going to have to put some serious practice in, one, to get used to generating the shadows in the right sort of environment, and also to put the right choreography and performance into doing the effect. And Tobias is an absolute master at doing it. He's obviously been doing it for quite a while. And that's where I'm going back now to my original stance, that if I was to sell this to my customers saying this is absolutely brilliant, I couldn't really hand on heart sell it to, because I know the demographic that a lot of my customers are in. People ring me day in, day out, and I know the demographic they are. I know roughly how much practice they like to do. I know roughly what sort of if they do gigs or if they perform, what sort of environment it's in. And I really don't think that most of them are going to be in for the amount of practice needed to get this good, and also the environments to actually use it. So this is really weird, because I'm saying it's an absolutely awesome effect. I'd liken it to Shin Lim's Dream Act, or his 52 Shades of Red. Absolutely fantastic tricks. There's no doubt whatsoever. If you want to buy those and put in the hours and hours of practice to perfect those acts, you're going to have something that's absolutely awesome. Same with this. If you buy it and you're willing to put in the practice and everything just like Tobias has, you're going to have an absolutely amazing effect. If you think that you're going to buy this and within a week you're going to be doing it as good as him. I would be, a little bit doubtful. I'm not saying it's not doable within a week if you put enough effort in. People learn at different speeds and different abilities. But just my opinion, my thoughts, and that's why I took a little bit of a stand. We could have joined every other magic shop in the UK and promoted this, saying it was really good, but I just felt for the value for money and the fact that I felt that the bulk of customers were not going to do this. I've got a little prediction that there's going to be a lot of these on the second-hand market very quickly, and I'd like to be able to sort of say in 2 weeks time, that with comments that come out, that my initial gut feeling that I didn't feel comfortable selling this to my customer base as something that I thought the majority of them would be into. If you're a social media kind of guy, and you can set it up and do quite a few takes and things, then this is something that you'd be able to do reasonably quickly, I would say. If you're the sort of guy that is really into, if you're into creating shadows and stuff, because there was a shadow act on BGT, so if you're into that kind of thing, then this might be something that you could pick up on if you're into that theatrical kind of thing and presentation already. So it could be something that you're looking at doing, but the bulk of my customer base I felt was not into that kind of thing, and I really felt it was wrong to be pushing a £70 trick on them in that kind of way. So call me silly for not selling it, because it's costing our business money, because I'm sure a lot of these are being sold around the UK and around the world. But it was just my honest opinion. I really didn't feel that I could do it hand on heart. The number of times I've had parents contact me and say, my son's bought this trick. 52 Shades was a classic one. I've had a few emails from parents saying my son's bought this, and all it is a pack of cards, and they can't see the value in it, and the lad's like, no way ever going to do it, because he was bought into the video dream. And hopefully you can see what I'm saying along the lines of this. If you're willing to put the practice in, it's not going to be easy, then you can do it. The phone, by the way, you can borrow the phone. It can't be any phone. It is better if it's got a flip case on it, which gives you a little bit of cover. As far as the angles, you want the people to be behind you as such, so you're not going to have anyone sort of level with the phone or in front of the phone. If they are level or in front of the phone, then if you've got a flip case, then that's essential. But obviously a flip case only covers you from one side, so you couldn't have anyone from the opposite side of the flip case. And you can use a borrowed phone. Not that I can't see why you'd want to use a borrowed phone, but yes, you can use a borrowed phone if you want to. Anything else I can say? The gimmicks are made of metal, so they're exceptionally durable. You could have 2 gimmicks set ready to go at any one time with what's provided in the set. You can actually only use one at a time, but when I say 2 ready to go, in your pocket when you're ready, when you're approaching some people, so say you're going out for the evening or whatever, you can have 2 gimmicks in your pocket set up ready to go with what you've got, and then you could choose which one you want to use. So if you did get this down, you could use one gimmick for one group and then use the other gimmick for the next group. If you then want to change to a different gimmick, it's not a long job to change them over. But you'd have to go up a corner, find the gimmick that you want, change it over, and you could use a different gimmick for the next group. But at least you get 2 with it that you can sort of walk around with ready and interchange as you want, and then you can swap them throughout the night in probably 10 seconds it would take to switch one gimmick out for another. So not an awful. That's a bit short really, probably 10-20 seconds to actually switch a gimmick over, so you're ready to perform with that gimmick as opposed to the one that was there before. Whew. So hopefully I haven't been too cryptic and that hopefully gave you a sort of a bit of an honest opinion on where I'm coming from with that. And there we go. I'm just having a look down your comments there, just seeing in case there was any questions. I do like the fact that you guys are thinking that I'm giving honest. I obviously am giving an honest review, and the fact that you can't actually go onto our website and order this shows that I'm standing by that review, that I'm not recommending that people buy it. There must be a few of our customers that would fall into the category that this would be suitable for, but I felt that it would do my business more harm selling to the masses of our customer base this trick, especially at that price. That there's no way I could stand up here and recommend it to everyone to go out and buy, because I really don't think it's a trick for the masses. It's a trick for a niche of people that are really going to put the time and effort and the theatre and the choreography into. So it is a fantastic trick. I'll end it with that. And that's Silhouette from Tobias. So to sum up what I said before, Avalanche from Paul Harris Presents, excellent trick, worth getting. Lit from Dan House, certainly worth getting. And there we go. So there's another Sunday Night Live completed. Thanks for tuning in this evening. I think we should be fine for another one next week, but look out for the emails, as we normally message out to customers on the email list and post on Facebook to inform when the next one is. So thanks very much for tuning in this evening. Take care everybody, and good night.